Rising prices, particularly for food, is a huge one, and rice in particular. It's the staple of the Japanese diet, and prices have doubled over the last year. To give an idea of just how important this has become, an agriculture minister earlier this year made a joke about rising prices and had to step down. A joke about the rising price of rice, which nobody found funny. Inevitably, it's people on lower incomes that are being squeezed. Wages are just not kept pace with the rise in prices overall, particularly food. As you mentioned, tariffs as well. It's not the biggest issue here, but it is an issue. People are aware these negotiations are going on, and the Prime Minister's position is weak. A weak government is, of course, not a great position to be in terms of trade negotiations. What is a new issue here is the foreign presence in Japan. That hasn't really been an issue in previous elections. People here do realize that Japan needs more workers. There's a huge shortage in nearly every sector. But this is a new phenomenon in Japan, a large influx of foreign people. So it hit 3.8 million last year, which is a record. That's only around 3% of the population, much lower than in Europe and elsewhere. But still, it has caused some unease. I was talking to a voter this week. He told me that he's aware that Japan needs more workers. In fact, in his own company, they're short of workers, and he's doing extra shifts to cover them. But he still has some unease about this.
And that question of immigration has led to a rise in support for this far-right Sanseito party that's been getting a lot of coverage. Can you tell us more about them?
Yes, so as you mentioned, they're running on a Japanese first slogan, and they've adopted some of the same rhetoric and policies that populist far-right parties have in Europe. They've also effectively used social media, which is actually quite surprisingly new here and hasn't been exploited by parties like that in the past. Now, they have been ramping up the anti-foreigner rhetoric here. They're talking about, and they're appealing to people who are struggling economically. That's really the group they're aiming at. And in terms of their other policies, they're anti-vax, they're anti-globalization, they're anti-LGBTQ. Now, they're proposing a new constitution, which actually does away with most individual rights. I don't think most voters are aware of this, the content of that. Now, they may only win 10 to 20 seats in this election, but they have already shifted the conversation.